Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Johnny D here. I'm down at the world famous ZIMM'S Guitars here in Mesa, Arizona, and I just wanted to show you guys a really cool guitar today that I picked up. It's been with my luthier for over 2 years. Shout out to Dave Ayers with the Guitar Gallery up in Scottsdale, Arizona. Dave did a phenomenal job on this guitar, and I'm going to show it to you guys now. So without further ado, what we have here is a 1965 Gretsch Tennessee. One of many Beatle guitars used by Mr. George Harrison. This one was made in 1965, and just you can see the rebinding here is all fresh. It still kind of has a vintage cream look to it, but Dave did a phenomenal job doing the rebinding. As many people know, Gretsches are notorious for being in these cases in the glue basically disintegrating over time. So you'll find these all the time with chipped. Pretty much everything that came out of the Gretsch factory in the 50s and 60s, a lot of the binding just it rots away, binding rot, you know, over time. So it's good to have a luthier that can fix that. Something with the chemical reaction in the case, and then we do have a Gretsch expert here today that'll be talking to you about this too. But it's all for the most part stock. It's got the high-low or the helo pickups in it. And yeah, we'll do a little close-up inspection here in a moment, but we've even got the original case candy with this guitar, which is awesome. So it comes with this pink card here, and it comes with just some other little checklist that it left the factory with, quality control sheet. Again, this is the stuff that you want to have when you're getting a vintage guitar. I mean, you never can find this kinds of stuff. So anyway, the 65 Gretsch Tennessee. We're going to take a little closer look at it now.
So we also have Nathan down in here today. How you been, Nathan?
Good. So we're here to check out this 65 Tennessean 6119. Like was mentioned before, it's a George Harrison guitar. You know, famous when the Beatles played them.
Yeah, 65 I think was the year he mainly used this. I think on Help and Rubber Soul, I want to say he used this guitar a lot. I think at the Shea Stadium concert in '65 in New York, one of their most famous shows, he's playing this Tennessean most of the time, this model.
Cool. So there was, in this era, there was two main pickup types that you can have in a guitar. This one having the Hylotrons, which are, you know, single coil pickup. And then you also have the Filtertrons, which were the humbucking pickup. I prefer the Hylotrons, like in this guitar. To me, they're bright. They have that single coil chime to them that, you know, the Beatles kind of based their whole sound off that, like super chimey, bright tone. And like we were talking about earlier, this guitar has been fully rebound. As you can see, the binding is in excellent condition, and whoever did rebind this, I think you said is up in Guitar Gallery, right?
Yep.
Seems to have done a pretty good job. You know, it looks great. No refinish work had to have been done whenever it's rebound, which that was the first question I asked, if you remember, when you said you had to rebound. I was like, did they mess with the finish at all?
Need to. No,
and that's the sign of, you know, a quality repair. I've seen guys have these rebound and then they end up getting a sunburst finish on them because they have to respray the edges.
Right.
And it would be pretty damn hard to match this finish exactly without refinishing the entire guitar. So they do like a sunburst finish on them, and it doesn't look right, you know?
Well, so Nate, and maybe you can talk about this, Nate, but to me, it looks like it's completely stock. The bridge, tremolo, Bigsby tremolo, I mean, everything looks right.
Yeah, it does look right to me as well.
Okay.
The bridge, these some of them had like a space roller bridge, I believe they're called. But the bar bridges are accurate as well. And then the bass is not pinned, correct? It's a floating bridge.
I believe that's right.
So if you take the strings off, this bridge will move around. And you'll have to reset your intonation every time you do a restring if you take it all off, you know. So a lot of guys will have this pinned. It doesn't necessarily make a difference when you're playing, just makes restringing easier, but it does look like the original bridge. Bigsby looks correct to me as well. You know, you have your Gretsch branded Bigsby. And the thing about these Bigsby's is that they actually feel entirely different than a new Bigsby does. I don't know if it's because the spring is, you know, 50-some, 60 years old, or if it's, you know, just the way that they're manufactured, but they're way smoother and they actually hold their tune quite a bit better as well. G arrow knobs are definitely right, and you could tell by looking at the patina on these, on pretty much all of the parts, it all matches. You know, you're not seeing a super shiny pickup and a super shiny bridge and everything else is worn. They all look to be worn in the exact same manner, you know, as they should be. Down here you have your kill switch. Up here you have your pickup selector and your mud switch.
Okay, hold on, slow down. So this is pickup selector?
It's been a minute since I've actually played one, but I believe that this might be the pickup selector.
Well, let's plug it in and let's kind of go through all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Here we go. So yeah, this is going to be our pickup selector in the front here. So you have neck, middle, and bridge. And then this is your, what they call the mud switch, but basically what it is just a fixed tone roll off. So when it's up, you're gonna have the most tone rolled off. It's like having your tone rolled all the way off, all the way down on 0. And then in the middle, it's like having your tone wide open, so no roll off. And then when it's down, it's like a 15% roll off. So it's like having your volume rolled down to like, I don't know, 8.5 or 7 or something like that. As you can tell, it's a very slight difference, but you know, again, when you're rolling your tone down only a number or two, it's not going to be that big of a difference. So you don't actually have any tone knobs on this. So you have a master volume, and then you have a volume for each pickup. So if you're in the bridge pickup, and then neck pickup, but as you can see, this one doesn't do anything. It's not a tone knob, just volume. And then you might be wondering what this switch is down here. It's the switch that freaks everyone out. When it's in the middle, no sound at all. And it's a 3-way switch, which is kind of funny. So it's on, off, on. Some people say it's a ground switch, ground loop switch. It's not true. It's literally just on, off, on. No phase control or anything like that. Both pickups are going to be in phase no matter what. And then, like we said, 2 Hylotrons. And honestly, to me, this is like the best Gretsch setup that there was. I actually like the mud switch, and I do use it. A lot of guys say it's pointless and they'd rather have a volume, or a tone knob. But to me, if you like some Chet Atkins stuff, putting it in the neck pickup with the mud switch flipped up, it's that perfect tone for that, you know. And of course you can get that with the volume, but it's so much easier to just flip that switch up like that. Earlier it was mentioned that a lot of the Gretsches suffer from binding rot, which is true. You'll see, I don't want to say maybe like the majority of them, at least like 80% of the ones I've seen, have had some sort of binding rot, whether it was just starting or the binding was literally completely black and it would fall off every time you pick it up. I actually had a country gent that was like that, and it was a disaster. But what I've heard about the binding is that during this era of Gretsch, there was actually 2 different methods of gluing the binding. One was with hide glue, and one was with another chemical-based glue. I wish I remembered what it was called, but I read this a couple years ago at least. And that glue is actually what would cause the binding rot. Whereas if you get a Gretsch that was done with hide glue on the binding, it didn't suffer from binding rot. So whenever the guitar sits in its case for 50 years, the glue starts to off-gas or whatever you call it, and that is what actually would corrode the binding on the Gretsch guitars. So a lot of guys think, if I want to keep this guitar safe, I'm going to keep it in the case for, you know, until I sell it or whatever happens, but that's actually what caused the binding rot on all of these in the first place. So if they would have had the guitar hanging on the wall or sitting on a guitar stand in the corner of the room, it probably wouldn't have suffered from binding rot like it would if it was sitting in the case. So it is what it is. You know, you can't go back in time and fix it, but this just goes to show that there are guys that can do amazing jobs rebinding it. It probably costs you a pretty penny to have it done, because it is super labor intensive, and you can see that there's actually multiple layers of binding. It's not single ply binding. There's black and white layers to the binding. So it's definitely like a time consuming job. You have to be very detail oriented and skilled to pull off a job like this. But look at the guitar now. It looks fantastic. You know, before you would have binding chipping off and everything. So it feels brand new again, but it still has that feeling of like a well-played, you know, 60-year-old guitar. You know, the finish is still all original, so the neck is still nice and played in. It doesn't feel like a sticky poly finish like you would get on like a new Les Paul or something. Same with the back of the guitar and the front. So, I mean, really, this, if you're looking for a 6119 like this can be one of the best ones to get, because you're getting that worn-in feel, but you're getting no binding issues like at all, which is literally the downfall of these guitars. And same with the neck. The neck looks nice and straight. Doesn't need a neck reset. Obviously, it's had all the work done to it. It didn't have a neck reset, did it? So yeah, it didn't have a neck reset, but it didn't need one, or else it would have. And frets are still all original. They still actually feel pretty good. I don't have any trouble playing it, like, at all. And then again, all of your original electronics in it, pickups, knobs, everything, so all the good stuff. Alright, so we're playing it through 1962 Brown Deluxe, made by Fender. And we'll just go through a couple of the pickup selections and play with the tone control a little bit and see how it sounds. Bridge pickup sounds best to me, but I enjoyed that. It was interesting, the finger picking with that left switch on. Thanks. Yeah, sounds cool. I said earlier, man, these Bigsby's are like way better than any Bigsby that you're gonna find today. They're like so smooth. Like you can, like a lot of times when you play a Bigsby, you can hear it popping like a little bit, but like nothing on here. You know, it's just like. Yeah, man. Overall, this is like a killer guitar. Thanks for having me in to check this thing out. Down here at ZIMM'S Guitars. This was a 1965 6119 Gretsch Tennessee.